Good evening, dosto, and welcome to another episode of Fund Manager Fridays with 5paisa.com. क्या आपको पता है कि आज जब स्टॉक मार्केट 60,000 पे है, आपको कैसे ट्रेड करना चाहिए? हम निवेश क्यों करते हैं? प्रॉफिट बनाने के लिए, वेल्थ क्रिएट करने के लिए। लेकिन जब हम निवेश करते हैं, दो तीन सवाल हमारे दिमाग में हमेशा आते हैं। क्या बाय करना चाहिए? क्या सेल करना चाहिए? कब बाय करना चाहिए और कब सेल करना चाहिए? इन्हीं कुछ सवालों का जवाब देने आज आ रहे हैं डॉक्टर सी के नारायण। Dr. C.K. Narayan is a stock market veteran who has traded through multiple market highs and lows in a career spanning over 40 years. He continues to be an active trader and educator of technical analysis. As a matter of fact, Dr. Narayan is acknowledged as one of the finest exponents of technical analysis of financial markets in India, for which he was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award in Technical Analysis by the Association of Technical Market Analysts. Trader, portfolio manager, and educator. Doc wears many hats, and today he has agreed to join us and share some of his wisdom with us. Welcome, Dr. C.K. Narayan.
Namaskar, dosto. Thank you for having me on the show, Deepika.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. So, Doc, I think let's get right into it. Markets have been one way for the last maybe 6 months. Today we saw a little bit of a dip. What are your thoughts? Is the market overheated since it's been moving in one direction, or is there still some room to move higher from current levels?
Well, I think, one small correction in what you said. Markets have been moving up for 6 months. I think
Mhm.
markets have been moving non-stop for 18 months.
Fair enough,
We
yes.
made the last bottom March of 2020. We
Mhm.
just finished September of 2021, and it's been one relentless upside. And the relentlessness of the trend is what is
Mhm.
actually creating a lot of misgivings among people. See, typically everybody is used to, through history, a normal correction of at least around 10 to 12% in a year, and several corrections of about 4 to 5%. This is very typical. If you take any sample year across the last 20 years, you'll find this as a standard pattern. It's only this time that you have gone 18 months and the largest correction has been about 3.9%, right? So people have been, very wary about the whole thing. So I think just a couple of days back, somebody asked me, "Ki, are people worried about a correction?" And then my reply to him is that people have been worried about a correction from April, May of 2020. And then we are still waiting for a correction as of September of 2021. So I think the lack of correction itself has been a huge source of worry. Now it has done two things. One is it has prevented, the more seasoned people from committing whole hog to the trend. And that's a very significant thing because markets tend to get overheated or overbought in a technical parlance when lots of people come and commit their resources to the market and they leave their positions on. So progressively as the trend moves higher and higher, there is a progressive position build, right? There's a position overhang, so to speak, on the trends. Now, what has happened very unusually in this rise is that one, the market started going up in the depths of the pandemic, right? And we were all caught in something which we did not know what it is and what could be the extent and all that. Nobody had experienced a lockdown and then lockdown two and so on and so forth. So lots of people were still reeling from the effects of what was going on around their environment, that they could not fathom why the market was moving so aggressively. And they kept questioning it all through. But alongside, they did not really commit very much. So if somebody bought 500 shares just to ride the trend, and as soon as he saw some trouble or was happy with the amount of profits, they sold it off. So as a result of which, the position build has simply not happened. The position overbuild, let me say. The normal positions are there, but they are even lesser than the normal. In fact, if you see the position carried over into the October series, which has had the expiry a day ago, That's been subnormal, meaning much lower than the 3 month average, whether it is Nifty futures, whether it is stocks, whether it is the FI position, etc. Everything has been below the 3 month average. So that continues to tell us that the position overhang is not there. And this is one of the biggest positives, or makes the case for continuation of the trend even further. Whether we are at 60,000 or 18,000 of Nifty, there still seems to be no halt to this trend based upon the common sets of variables that we use to measure overheatedness.
So, if I have to distill that a little bit, so are you saying that there's still a lot of people who probably not participated and built positions in the rally so far? These people are waiting on the sidelines, and they're yet to join the market. And these are not just retail investors, but maybe also big institutional investors and seasoned investors.
Very much so. I think peoples of all hues, starting from the
Okay.
smallest retail guy to the
Hmm.
largest institutional investor, they were all being skeptical,
Hmm.
all
Okay.
through this rise. Because
Hmm.
rightly so, because everybody said, "Ab earnings nahi aega, the corporate sector is punctured and pandemic will play
Hmm.
havoc." And then they said, "Okay, we'll watch this quarter's earnings." That came out okay. Then they said, "No, no, this is an aberration. We'll watch the next quarter's earning." That also turned out to be okay. But still, the disbelief was there, and therefore, people remained out. Now, there is this thing called FOMO, fear of missing out, right? Typically, FOMO works whenever there's a pullback and then it revives. But everybody, like I said earlier, likes to wait for a reaction and then use that reaction because it brings it to down to a comfortable level. A 5% reaction, 10% reaction, two, three times. Everybody feels comfortable then getting in, overcoming their FOMO and then getting into the market. This time it has not happened. So the
Correct.
FOMO is very much
Hmm.
there, but nobody has been able to overcome it to come and participate. So I think there is still a whole lot of money waiting in the wings, waiting
Hmm.
for good results to come. So whatever came out good in the last quarter, they all
Hmm.
got you know bought up like crazy.
Correct.
The same thing is going
Hmm.
to happen with the next quarter results. Everybody is going to say,
Hmm.
okay, half yearly numbers are out and that should be good. And wherever the numbers are good, the institutions will come and buy those up, a percent here, a percent there, and that should be good enough to light up the street. Similar thing will happen to the HNIs and down to the retail trader. Fear of missing out will work at various levels, but people now need some reasons, right? Because the fear is very high, because the levels are quite high, quite elevated, let me say, not high. The levels are elevated. So people need a reason. Now, whether the reason comes from, a slew of announcements from the government, or the reason comes from corporate numbers which are solid, or it comes from whatever else, right? There is no dearth of money. The money is in plenty. That's because so much new money has come into the market. I would say, nearly 20, 30, 40 billion dollars worth of new money has come. That beats the pants out of the kind of FI flow that we see, which is typically around 15, 17, 20 billion dollars. So there is no dearth of money, and more money is waiting to come in. And the simple reason I say that is that people who have come in are fresh people. And then all they have done, or all they have experienced, is to taste success. They came in March 2020 by fluke, and then they bought, and then they bought some more in June or July. And that was also not through any genius. They just had the money. They had nothing else to do. They were locked up at home, and they did not have to go to office. They had to make a buck here and there. And somebody told them, "Yeah, here is something to try your hand at the stock market." And then they pitched in their money, and they have made a truckload of it, right? So when you experience something very positive, the normal human tendency is to have more of it. So people making profits are not likely to withdraw. They're going to bring more of their money and pitch it in. They're going to borrow and put it in, right? So there is no dearth of money. All people need is some good reason for them to come and buy stocks. So I think the next quarterly results, which will flow from, let's say, 10 days from today or so, I think that will set the next round of advances.
So, from what you're saying, Doc, I think the way I understand is कि, and I will also speak a little bit in Hindi because a lot of our listeners are asking for some Hindi commentary as well, कि हम लोग को अब नेक्स्ट क्वार्टर के रिजल्ट्स देखने चाहिए. अगर क्वार्टरली रिजल्ट्स अच्छे आए एंड वी ऑलरेडी सीन कि पिछले क्वार्टर थोड़ा रिजल्ट्स अप मूव अप ट्रेंड होने लगा था एंड इफ दैट ट्रेंड कंटिन्यूज देन मे बी इट्स टाइम कि जो लोग अभी साइडलाइंस पे बैठे थे and who are waiting to put their money in the market, now might be a good time कि धीरे धीरे they can start entering the markets. Would that be accurate?
एब्सोल्युटली.
Mhm.
देखिए ऐसा है कि पिछले टाइम के जो क्वार्टरली नंबर्स आए, दे वर देमसेल्व्स वेरी गुड. और
Mhm.
50-60% कंपनी जो है, दे एक्चुअली रिपोर्टेड better revenue numbers, better
Correct.
profits,
Mhm.
better EBITDA level, everything better.
Mhm. Mhm.
तो पिछले टाइम में क्या था कि इतना एक्सपेक्टेशन नहीं रहा.
Hmm.
बट अब की बार थोड़ा बहुत एक्सपेक्टेशन है, बट दैट एक्सपेक्टेशन इज ऑल्सो व्हाट शैल आई से टिंज्ड विद अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ फियर, क्योंकि 18,000 पहुंच चुका निफ्टी. तो अगर जो भी कंपनी इस बार जो धासु नंबर लाएगा उसमें कोई फियर नहीं रहेगा, बिकॉज दे विल से कि भाई कंपनी तो बढ़िया चल रही है, रिपोर्ट्स द रिजल्ट्स हैव बीन गुड, कोविड हो या ना हो, रिजल्ट्स हैव बीन वेरी गुड. तो दिस विल प्रोवाइड अ वेरी गुड रीजन फॉर पीपल टू गो एंड बाय. तो डेफिनेटली वी शुड वेट फॉर द नेक्स्ट क्वार्टरली नंबर. अब तक वेट कर लिया और आपने अगर निवेश नहीं किया तो 10 दिन और ठहर जाइए. आफ्टर 10 days फॉर द नेक्स्ट अबाउट 15 days to 1 month आपको सीरीज ऑफ कैंडिडेट्स मिल जाएगा. बट व्हाट इट विल रिक्वायर इज फॉर यू टू डू सम वर्क. यू हैव टू पे अटेंशन टू कि क्या किस टाइप के क्वार्टरली नंबर्स आ रहे हैं और किस किस कंपनी के क्वार्टरली नंबर्स और बेटर वर्किंग हैज ऑलरेडी बीन फैक्टर्ड इन. जैसे बोलते हैं ना, द फ्रेज बेक्ड इनटू द केक. अब हो सकता है कि कई स्टॉक्स में द मूव इज ऑलरेडी बेक्ड इन टू द केक, सो उससे अपने थोड़ा सा सावधान रहना. बट बाय एंड लार्ज आई फील कि अच्छे रिजल्ट्स आएंगे. और जहां तक ओवरसीज मार्केट का सवाल है, यूएस की मेकिंग सम नॉइजेस, बट जहां आप देख रहे हैं कि डाउ एंड एसएनपी को कोई प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है, वेदर दी US 10-year treasuries are going up and down. It doesn't matter whether the DXY is going up and down, the dollar is strengthening or not, that doesn't matter. वहां पर अपने बिटकॉइंस वगैरह जो क्रिप्टो करेंसी है वो तो चल रहे हैं काफी मजे से. डाउ एसएनपी दोनों मजे से चल रहे हैं. नैस्डैक इज हिटिंग न्यू हाइज. सो इक्विटीज एज अ क्लास अक्रॉस द ग्लोब देयर सीम्स टू बी नो वरी. एंड अगर आप क्रिप्टो करेंसी लेंगे, दैट इज अनदर वेरी गुड बैरोमीटर फॉर द रिस्क ऑन काइंड ऑफ सेंटिमेंट. क्योंकि क्रिप्टो करेंसी में मेनली कोई फंडामेंटल तो होता नहीं है. तो क्रिप्टो करेंसी में तो प्योर प्योर ट्रेडिंग है. अगर बिट थिंग्स लाइक बिटकॉइन एंड एथेरियम एंड ऑल द अदर कॉइन्स आर ऑल हिटिंग न्यू हाइज और होल्डिंग ऑन टू द हाइज, देन द रिस्क ऑन सेंटिमेंट इज वेरी मच स्टिल प्रिवेलेंट. डाउ एसएनपी कोई घट नहीं रहा है, नैस्डैक भी घट नहीं रहा है, उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. अब चाइना का प्रॉब्लम ऐसा कुछ तो आया था, सेइंग this Evergrande issue and then power issues in China, industries are shutting down. But it doesn't seem to be having any effect. So that means that the money flow towards equities, whether in the US or across the globe or in India, it's still very much intact. And stocks finally, always their stocks move as a function of fundamentals, no doubt. But जब ये liquidity factor आ जाता है, that just washes over everything else. And right now, market is being driven upward through a huge ocean of liquidity, and I don't see that changing in the near future.
Perfect. So we know liquidity will be after the price stocks, and that's what's going to drive up. But Doc, thank you for that. I think maybe we can thoda or we can delve into this if we talk about maybe some individual stocks and how our viewers can maybe use certain technical analysis parameters. अब देखिए results are good and but like you said, a lot of stocks have already moved up and maybe part of the results is already in that price. So how do our viewers use technical analysis to maybe identify वो stocks जो अब हम लोग अगले हफ्ते 10-15 दिन में एंटर कर सकते हैं?
वेल यू सी, अगर आप 10-15 दिन की बात कर रहे हैं तो आपको केवल टेक्निकल एनालिसिस से ही काम हो सकता है. ठीक है.
Okay,
फंडामेंटल एनालिसिस इज फॉर द लॉन्गर टर्म. और वो
correct.
जब रिजल्ट्स आएंगे, क्वार्टरली नंबर आगे 2-3 क्वार्टर के कोई हिसाब लगाएंगे, वी विल टेक अ व्यू ऑन दैट। उससे फंडामेंटल से कम काज हो सकता है, बट अगर जो 10-15 दिन 1 महीना का काम कर रहे हैं उनको टेक्निकल एनालिसिस का दायरे से ही काम हो सकता
ओके।
है। अब प्रॉब्लम यह है कि चार्ट्स तो कई लोग के पास है, देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम विद चार्ट्स। चार्ट की जानकारी लोग यूट्यूब वगैरह से ले रहे हैं, आई डोंट थिंक दैट इज द बेस्ट वे टू गो। यूट्यूब में काफी इंफॉर्मेशन है, बट सी यूट्यूब इज लाइक अ बिग स्कूल, एंड इफ यू आर कमिंग टू द स्कूल फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम, फर्ज करो कि आप स्कूल में पहली बार आए, यू नीड टू गो टू स्टैंडर्ड वन, राइट, क्योंकि आप पहली श्रेणी में आए, बट यू डोंट नो वेयर स्टैंडर्ड वन इज, and there in standard one you got to go to division C, so you don't know where that is, and then you got to go up the ladder, 1 2 3 classes like that. तो कोई चीज सीखना है, just like we were taught in school, standard 1 to standard 10, different subjects but at more and more layers. वो YouTube is a huge school, right? For people to find their way through YouTube is very difficult. So it is better that people take a structured way to learn technical analysis. There are a lot of people teaching it. हम भी सिखाते हैं. I have a company called Chartadvise, which does a lot of training, so people can seek that out if they want. But there are lots of other teachers also, and I suggest after you do a structured learning, then you go and seek for additional information from YouTube. डायरेक्टली यूट्यूब से सीखने की कोशिश करेंगे तो थोड़ा सा हाफ एजर्ड लर्निंग होगा, एंड हाफ एजर्ड लर्निंग में हमेशा नुकसान ही होगा। देन नंबर 2, सिर्फ चार्ट लर्न करने से अभी काम नहीं बनता, पहले बन रहा था, अब नहीं बन रहा है। क्यों? क्योंकि मार्केट्स की गति जो है दैट हैज बिकम एक्सट्रीमली फास्ट, एंड दिस इज बिकॉज मशीन्स हैव कम इनटू द ट्रेडिंग एरिना। टेक्नोलॉजी की इन्वेजन हो चुकी है मार्केट में, जिसके जरिए जो साइकिल्स चल रहे हैं मार्केट में, दे हैव ऑल बिकम शॉर्टर। अब शॉर्टर साइकिल्स हो जाता है तो उसमें क्या होता है कि वोलाटिलिटी बढ़ जाती है। अब वोलाटिलिटी बढ़ जाती है, जो डायरेक्शनलिटी है मार्केट की वो थोड़ा कर्टेल हो जाती है। सो नाउ यू हैव डिफरेंट सेट्स ऑफ प्रॉब्लम। एक है कि डायरेक्शनलिटी तो होता ही है, बट डायरेक्शनलिटी की जो द सस्टेन डायरेक्शनलिटी, दैट बिकम्स अ लिटिल डिफिकल्ट, एंड इफ वोलाटिलिटी इज इंक्रीज्ड, तो then you face difficulty if you are only not very well versed in charting. तो इसमें किस चीज की जरूरत है कि टेक्नोलॉजी को हार्नेस करना है। तो अलोंग विद लर्निंग टेक्निकल्स, जो स्कैनिंग है, जो सॉफ्टवेयर्स है, जिसके जरिए ये जो टेक्निकल एनालिसिस की जो पावर है उसको पूरा हार्नेस करके, विच विल गिव यू रेडीमेड इंफॉर्मेशन। क्या है, चार्ट में भी आपको उसी इंफॉर्मेशन मिलेगा, but then what will happen is you will have to see it chart by chart by chart, tool by tool by tool, method by method by method. All this takes a lot of time. तो जब मार्केट स्लो पेस हुआ करता था, मूवमेंट स्मूथ हुआ करते थे, तो ऑल दिस वाज पॉसिबल। अब क्या है, बिकॉज ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी एंड टू मच ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन, सबके रूम में सीएनबीसी या ईटी नाउ इज ऑन, सबके व्हाट्सएप चालू है, टेलीग्राम ग्रुप्स तो भरपूर है, और फोन्स भी चालू है, एवरीथिंग, एंड मार्केट्स आर आल्सो मूविंग वेरी स्विफ्टली। तो यू आर लिविंग इन एन एज ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन ओवरलोड। तो इंफॉर्मेशन ओवरलोड हो गया, साइकिल्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो गए, मार्केट की गति फास्टर हो गई, सो यू ऑल्सो हैव टू बिकम फास्टर। द ओनली वे टू डू दिस is through by way of powerful softwares which will harness the power of technical analysis. So technical analysis एक दर्जे पे है जहां पर उसकी जरूरत बहुत है, उसकी अहमियत बहुत है। विदाउट दैट यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू ट्रेड। बट अभी वो मकाम आ गया है जहां पर आपको एक एडिशनल सॉफ्टवेयर का उपयोग भी करना पड़ेगा, विच विल हार्नेस द पावर ऑफ टेक्निकल एनालिसिस and give you the output ready made within a fraction of a second or within minutes. Because एक चीज ही हमारे पास कमी है, that is समय नहीं है अपने पास। मार्केट इज ऑन फॉर 6 आवर्स, उस 6 आवर्स के अंदर अपने को लेना है, बेचना है, एक बार कई बार, एंड सो वी हैव टू टेक सो मेनी डिसीजंस। जब डिसीजन लेना है तो रेडीमेड इंफॉर्मेशन रहे तो डिसीजन लेना आसान हो जाए। सो दैट इज व्हाई यू मस्ट नीड अ सॉफ्टवेयर। तो इफ यू अलाउ मी टू शेयर द स्क्रीन, आई कैन exemplify a software which I have developed for my own use and for the sake of my clients. And this is something, what I'm trying to mean when I say technology ki power use hona chahiye. Allow me a minute to share my screen.
Certainly.
Okay, here you go. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what I've designed is my software called NeoTrader, and NeoTrader is a analysis come trading software. So what I have here is, if you like to do analysis yourself, then NeoTrader has a whole lot of stuff in it, which will give you ready-made masala. For example, here I am showing you something of the Nifty, right? So ye Nifty में what are the movements वगैरह वगैरह, all of it you will know, right? Or Ichimoku is one of the systems that we use in technical analysis, very very powerful system. So Ichimoku के जो vital parameters है वो यहाँ देख सकते हैं. ये जो है ये momentum dials है, momentum high है, low है, because momentum is a very significant component in trading. अगर
Okay.
मोमेंटम नहीं है कोई स्टॉक में तो वो स्टॉक चल ही नहीं सकता. स्टॉक नीड्स टू हैव न्यूज इज व्हाट प्रोड्यूसेस मोमेंटम. स्टॉक नीड्स टू विटनेस बाइंग एंड सेलिंग प्रोड्यूसेस मोमेंटम. तो स्टॉक की जो गति है, स्टॉक की जो मूवमेंट है, वो हम हमेशा मोमेंटम के जरिए मेजर करते हैं. सो दीज आर सम मोमेंटम ट्रेंड्स एंड रिवर्सल टेक्निक्स. फिर उसमें रेडीमेड लेवल्स है, तो उसमें रेडीमेड मेथड्स है. So then you have various support and resistance levels, various indicator levels. All of these are made available to you at one shot. And here you can also see it through multiple time frames. कोई intraday player है, कोई multi-day player है, कोई positional player है, कोई है कि they want to see all of these levels, right? So all of them will come here in much more detail. Now, this is all harnessing power of technicals for Nifty. You just type the name of the symbol that you want, and like for example, I just typed ACC. The whole thing will
Okay.
change and give you the setup for ACC. So everything you
Mhm.
will be able to see. If you want to see the chart of ACC, you can click here, and it will show you the chart of ACC. If you like to look at fundamentals along with technicals, you just click on financials. It will give you all the financials and all the fundamentals of ECC. If you click on the
Mhm.
news button, it will take you to all the news that is available on ACC, right? So what I've created is, here is a one-stop shop where you can look at the charts, you can look at all the technical variables. There's substantially
Mhm.
more technical variables also, but I'm showing you
Mhm.
all as a kind of a snapshot.
Okay.
And
So,
then you
sir,
also have
sorry.
news and
Mhm.
financials.
Mhm.
Yeah, you
Right.
were
So,
saying something?
actually, yes, one of our viewers is got a very targeted question for you. They want to understand about Maruti and where the stock is going to be headed in the near future. So, is
Right
can
away.
we
So
maybe
let us
discuss
put
that?
Maruti here and
Hanji.
click on go, right? So, oh, sorry. So there you go. Here is the stuff for Maruti, right? So what
Okay.
do I see broadly in Maruti? Maruti
Mhm.
has been, facing a year-to-date decline of 6.5. So the for the past 8 months, Maruti has been in a kind of a downtrend, but this month Maruti has rallied well. This week also Maruti has done. So there seems to be a short-term bounce which is going on in Maruti. All this I can do
Okay.
without looking at the chart. We will look at the chart at the end just to show you
Okay.
that how things have moved, that you have now reached a point where you can do the entire technicals without looking at the chart. So
Mhm.
Maruti is experienced a short to medium term kind of bounce, right?
Okay.
Today Maruti was down. So now if I look at Ichimoku, today's price of Maruti is about 7152, right?
Mhm.
And at 7152, it is clear of the Ichimoku clouds. The Ichimoku clouds are major support levels. It is clear of one cloud, one area
Okay.
of the cloud, but it is below the other one, which means that Maruti is currently caught within a cloud. And when you are caught within a cloud, then the stock will tend to struggle. So you see,
Okay.
Maruti already did about 4.5%, and at start of the week itself, it's about for this week it has done 2.87. So Maruti has rallied nicely, but has come
Mhm.
into the cloud. So 6900 to 7200 is the cloud area. So it's caught
Mhm.
within that. So the pace at which Maruti will go ahead should now be a little slower. Now you look at the momentum. Now I
Mhm.
put on the short term, the multi-day, medium term, and the intermediate term momentum. In all of them, the momentum has come to somewhat around neutral, because earlier they were in oversold position. From oversold, they have all come to neutral. So the stock has rallied, it has got into a congestion zone. The momentum is still neutral, so the momentum is not so high that it can carry the market, carry the stock much higher, right?
Okay.
So how high can the stock go? Now, if you look at the other indicators within the Ichimoku itself, you also have the medium term indicator at about 7130, price is 7150. So Maruti
Okay.
has done its rally and it has come to a decent level, so you need to be a little bit careful.
Careful.
Looking ahead, we see whether there's a possibility of the momentum reversing from here. We are seeing that is also at neutral. So maybe Maruti is likely to get into a congestion. Had these
Mhm.
dials been out here into the green a little, that would
Uh-huh.
show that they are liable for a reversal. So that's also not
Understood.
happening. And if you
Okay.
look at here, we have some scoring systems. And in that scoring system, if you look at, there is a Ichimoku bull score, bear score, there's a candlestick score. You're seeing that the trend scores, it's not really scoring very high. When the scores go towards the 50, 70, 80 and
Mhm.
all that, then you know the momentum is high, the strength is high. Here the
Okay.
scores are very, very middling to lower middling. So Maruti has had a very decent rally. I think it's come into a congestion zone. So the chances are that Maruti is not really going to keep up the kind of pace. Now, if you look at ready-made signal, Maruti is not signaled a buy anywhere. If you look at
Uh,
intraday, Maruti actually signaled a short today, right? So
okay.
all your intraday signals are in short. And today you see
Mhm.
that the stock has actually dropped 2.5. So you get
Mhm.
ready-made signals for trades also here. And if you
Mhm.
come to look at where are the supports and resistances, now if you see here the multi-day pivot, so Maruti is somewhere between here, 7152 is here. So it's not
Mhm.
even exceeded the weekly pivot. It's below the monthly pivot. So 7250, 7180 to 7215 is going to be a tough level for Maruti to beat, right?
Okay.
And then it might actually pull back and take some supports here. So if you go
Mhm.
down, there is really no cluster until you come
Mhm.
to about 68.75 to 68.68. So Maruti, if it
Mhm.
were to turn down from here, I would think can go down to about this level. So all these
Okay.
are
Mhm.
technical analysis based, mind you. And
Mhm.
then you
Okay.
you have various indicators. Those who know about technicals, you can also see here that none of the measures are really so strong.
Strong.
So that means
Mhm.
Maruti has come down, come up to where it had to. It's now likely to flounder a bit, and possibly
Mhm.
there could be a pullback to somewhere around the 6800 sort of zone. That is what I would
Understood.
say. And this I'm saying without even looking at the chart, even though I did everything based on the charts, right? So if you
Mhm.
take a look at the chart of Maruti, you will
Mhm.
probably find all the things that I'm saying. That Maruti
Mhm.
has had a nice rally. Now it's kind of stalled there. These are the
Mhm.
previous highs that it has had. This rally
Mhm.
is on pretty low volumes, right? So this is the daily chart. The volumes have really not picked up during the
Mhm.
during the big rally. So you had this very large move up, and then the prices are stalled. So if the
Got.
prices were to melt a little from Monday onward, Maruti could
Mhm.
seek come back a little, come down to the middle of this long body candle or even to the
Mhm.
lower end of the candle. That'll be about 6800, 6900 area, which is what we saw as a support. So this is what I meant
Perfect.
by
Mhm.
saying that
Mhm.
you should look at you should look at something which will harness the power of technical
Mhm.
analysis, that you
Mhm.
don't have to spend time going to Maruti chart, putting on all the indicators one by one, and then spend
Mhm.
so much time analyzing that you lose
Mhm.
sight of all the other opportunities which may be there in a cement stock or a steel stock and all that. NeoTrader
Understood.
gives it to you all at one shot. And as you get familiar with how to analyze using NeoTrader, you will finish the analysis in a matter of seconds. And then to go
Mhm.
from stock to stock and get all the analysis in one page becomes a matter of a jiffy.
Perfect. So thanks for taking us through that. We have lots of questions on single stocks. I think there's a lot of interest on IRCTC and CAMS, but two things specifically. One is your view on some of the recently listed IPO stocks, because we're all talking about IPOs these days. And since right now you also mentioned a little bit about sectors, right? कि cement stocks hai, steel stocks hai. So also specifically your views on what sectors are looking strong in the near future.
I think I would most definitely concentrate on the new listing and treat that as a sector,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Okay, there
Mhm,
may be so many individual sectors within that, but I feel for two main reasons. One is all nice big IPOs are coming. They are not these
mhm,
chiller putty kind of
mhm,
flunky companies which used to come out with IPOs in the past. Today
mhm,
you have IPOs which are really big size, which is going to do a couple of things, which is going to raise the market cap level of the market itself, which
mhm,
is a good thing. Come up with
mhm,
great businesses, leave which promoters these days are seen leaving money on the table for investors also, which is why you're seeing all this big moves up. And all these stocks have no baggage, right? Because there are no
correct.
holders, so all of them are clean movements from the stock, and great new sets of companies are coming. I think
Mhm.
Paras Defense is one of the companies which got listed today,
Today,
had a great
correct.
debut. Now,
Mhm,
series of them, so I would most definitely pay attention to the new listings, and there are
mhm,
lots and lots of them.
mhm.
Particularly, they are coming out in niche areas, and there are some really stellar companies. They are too numerous for me to name,
Sure.
but
Mhm,
I would say pay particular attention to the stocks within the IPO listing, new IPO listing,
mhm,
which
mhm.
start making new highs. Now, the logic
Okay.
here is very simple. The
Mhm,
IPO came at price X, let's say 500
mhm,
rupees. Let's
mhm,
say it got listed at 600 and then climbed up to 800 or something, right?
mhm.
So everybody who got allotment at 500 have had a chance to sell out, take their money, be
Correct.
happy,
Mhm,
and all that. Everybody
mhm,
who bought after listing also have had their, jolly ride and all that.
mhm,
But in spite of all this, if that stock goes up and makes still more newer highs, then it is
mhm,
very evident that people who matter, people with resources, people who have done research into that company, they are the ones who are coming out and buying
holding
that
this one.
particular stock, right? So
Mhm,
that is why you have seen many stocks which got issued at 500, listed at 700, went up to 1000 on day one, then petered
mhm.
around that for a little while, not losing much ground. And then you turn back and you have lost track of it. Then you turn around and look, they are all at 1500 or 2000. That's
Correct.
because new money is coming into it. The
Mhm,
big players are coming into it. See,
mhm.
rank retail trade will buy stocks which are 15 rupees, 20 rupees, or sub 100 rupees. It's
ठीक
a
है.
big money, the institutional money which goes
Mhm,
and buys at quality. They do not bother whether the stock is at 2000 or 4000 or it is at 7000. You take a
mhm,
stock like India Mart, for example. Now,
mhm,
India Mart listed a little while ago, it was around 800 rupees, slowly went to 1200 rupees. Then it started making nice patterns on the chart, and I could buy it at 1200 rupees purely based on the chart. It
mhm,
went to 2000 rupees. I was gloriously happy and I took my money off, right? And
mhm,
then at 2900 rupees, one of the big brokers from the market had a initiating coverage on it. And when I read that, saying that
mhm,
this big brokerage house is having an initiating coverage on India Mart at 2900 rupees, I went and read that. And that what I read there made a lot of sense. So I said,
mhm,
okay, at 3100, I bought it back. And then it
mhm.
jumps to something like 42, 43. Again, I'm gloriously happy. I said, okay, take my money, 25% in no, kind of 30% in no time.
Mhm,
So I
mhm.
gave it away. And then it goes up by another 1,000 points, and then five more reports come out on it.
Correct,
So
correct.
it just, the case has been building and building, and then it went all the
Mhm,
way to some 9,000 plus. I'm not in it
mhm,
now, but I'm more than
mhm,
happy with what I made. But I could
mhm.
have been in that ride, and I made my
Correct,
money from all the way till 9,000. And it
correct.
seems to be in no mood to read. That's because there is no old baggage to sell and take
Mhm,
profits. People who
mhm,
have bought at 5,000 and 7,000 have not made it, have not bought it to make 50 rupees gain. Those charts will
mhm.
always be there. They will trade in and out every day, and they create the volume for the big guys to come in and buy. So I think
Understood.
this is what is happening in all this newly listed stock. So
Mhm,
that is why I say treat this as a separate sector, and whatever is making new highs. Okay, you may go wrong in two or three out of 10, but the
mhm.
money you'll make in the other seven will more than kind of justify what you may lose out in the other two or three. Right?
Understood. So we'll just take one last question from one of our viewers, Tanuj Agarwal. He is asking how to scan which stock is giving momentum in the first 15 minutes of the trading day.
Well, number one thing is you need to have a very good scanner, right?
Mm,
So you can buy ready-made scanners. There are not very many, but many softwares come built in with some scanners. Second is you need to know how to scan. What are the parameters? For that,
mhm,
you need to have some idea about technical analysis. Otherwise, if you do not have understanding of technical analysis, then you cannot use the technical parameters to scan, right? Because you
correct.
won't know what
Mhm,
it means. You
mhm,
can then scan purely on price action. Now, price action
mhm,
could be a certain X percentage move
mhm.
post open or
Okay.
right during the day. If it moves a certain amount, then
Mhm,
very evidently there is a lot of buying in. Then,
mhm.
along with price action, you can also join up with some volume action, right? So,
Okay.
if you have a price and volume action in the stock, now without
Mhm,
knowing basics of technical, this is just common sense that if there is
mhm.
large volume and large price action in a
Right.
stock, evidently
Mhm,
there is a lot of activity, and wherever activity is there, there is scope for movement. I'm not saying
mhm,
that there will be movement, but there is potential for movement. Now, which
mhm,
is why I presented to you that something like NeoTrader, there are a
mhm,
couple of other scans also, but all of them are scanning. NeoTrader takes it much beyond scanning and even
mhm,
converts all the whole thing into ready-made trades and say,
mhm,
okay, out of all these scans, you should trade in India Mart or you should trade in Clean Science Technology or some such thing. It takes it to the whole, does the whole gamut of things. Otherwise, you will need to look at the scan results.
mhm.
Unless you are very good at building the scan, you will get about 100 stocks. Now, if you
Okay.
get 100 stocks, you are nowhere. What you
Mm,
need is to distill it down to about 4 or 5 stocks. So the
mhm,
parameters of the scan have to be really built in nicely. Now, the the kind of off-the-shelf scanner that you get in the markets will not do that for you. You need to be a little skilled
mhm.
to know how to write scans, and if you can do all that, then you won't be asking this question, right? You would
So,
probably be doing it already. The fact
see.
that you have asked it, it means that you will have to gather the skill, A, or you'll have to get hold of a scanner. Like I would say, NeoTrader is a super scanner or it's a super duper scanner. Right?
Mhm. Understood. Okay, I think we have a lot more questions, but I think something which is on everybody's mind, and we can probably close with that, is your view on the markets in the short term.
Well, the markets fired some warning shots this week, right?
Mm, correct.
One, it just tapped into a new high, and that was at the open. The
Mm,
Nifty all time high at
mhm,
18,088 this week was a opening tick, which is not very
mhm.
good because that's an artificial high, it's not a traded high.
Right.
So that's not a very good sign. Second, if you take, for those who know technicals and candlestick, this week's candle pattern was what we call as a dark cloud cover. And now a dark
Okay.
cloud cover is a kind of a warning that
Mhm,
you should be a little bit alert. Now the dark cloud cover has been pretty sizable that we almost came and hit the previous week's low. Now it
okay.
is interesting that from July till now, okay, this has been the last big run, right? July
Mhm,
and till now. So the market has never gone below the previous week's low. Okay, so that's
okay.
like a very
Mhm,
trended move. Even this week we have not gone and we
mhm,
saved it by about 100 points. But we do
mhm,
have a big dark cloud cover. Now the dark cloud cover is a sizable bearish candle. The last time you saw such a size bearish candle was way
mhm.
back in the low in January of 2021. After that, you have
Okay.
not had a big size candle like what we have seen for this week. So that's
Mhm,
these are all small points of note which we should kind of write down in our notebook as things to keep at the back of our mind when we get into the market next week. That
okay.
is one thing about price action and candlestick. Second, if you take a measure like a trend line, a short term trend line got broken during the decline of this week, and the market
Okay.
has fallen on all the 5 days. Monday to
Mm,
Friday, the market has had a decline. So when you have a decline which breaks a trend line, that is more meaningful, right? This has not
okay.
happened also ever in the past. Recent breaks of trend lines of short term that have happened, but they have all
Mm,
happened through consolidation. A
mhm,
consolidation will eventually catch up with the trend line and break it, but that is of no relevance. It should be a
mhm,
trended move which breaks the trend line. So that has happened this week. So that's the second warning sign you got. Third is all through this, the momentum has never shown any divergence pattern. Divergence is when there is a lack of momentum which does not
mhm.
accompany new highs. So that has
Okay.
also happened this throughout the rise that was missing. Now the divergence has happened. That short-term trend line has been broken. The divergence indicator, taking for example RSI as an indicator, that has also traded down below the overbought zone. So these are
Mhm.
all three telltale warning signs, at
Mhm.
least in the short term. So when
Okay.
I end this week and prepare myself for the next week, I'm
Mhm.
going to go there with a little extra padding, right? It's like those old
Mm.
cricketers when they used to face the West Indian bowlers, they would add a
Mhm.
couple of pads, bodyguards, and some arm shields and all that because the
Mhm.
bowling used to be so fiery. So
Right.
I would want to pad up a little and go to the market in the next week, just in case some big fiery West Indian bowlers show up. Otherwise, I'm happy to stand there and then continue to hit the ball for sixes. So the
Okay.
short term seems a little bit of a question mark. Warning shots fired,
Mhm.
undoubtedly. Whether there
Mhm.
is a follow through, we have to see.
Mhm.
Second is this is only for the short term players. For the
Understood.
longer term players, the line in the sand, if I were to see, would be somewhere slightly south of 17,000, say around
Okay.
16,700, sixteen thousand eight
Mhm.
hundred levels. Until those levels are not violated, the longer term guys need not really worry. But a warning shot is a warning shot for everybody. The
Mhm.
levels of caution that we will take will
Mhm.
kind of differ. As an
Mhm.
active trader, I will go in with 50% confidence and 50% guard.
Caution. Hmm.
As a longer term player, you may want to take a 10%, 20% kind of guard just to ensure
Mhm.
that the profits that have accrued do not go away.
Do not go. Understood. Perfect. I think it's good to know that because I think the last week has confounded a lot of investors, right? And to understand, like you articulated, these three reasons why one should be a little padded going into the next week. Very helpful. And thank you very, very much. It's been a wonderful conversation, and I hope our viewers have also had some good takeaways from this conversation. Thank you so much, Doc.
Thank you very much. Namaskar, dosto. I hope you had a good time listening to whatever little I wanted to contribute. Thank you, Deepika,
Thank
for
you.
having me on the show.
Pleasure always. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye
Until
bye.
next time, viewers, we will see you next Friday. Thank you so much.
All right.